have one. So what? Okay.
All right, we're live. Just FYI.
Awesome.
Yeah. So the record store day list dropped today. Anything in particular jump out at you guys that you have to have?
Yeah, I absolutely need that Tom Waits. I mean, I said in my video, Tom Waits does not release anything. So it's very rare to get a release by him. And he's doing a 7-inch single, which has got an alternate version of Get Behind the Mule. So very excited about that. A bunch of my subscribers reached out. They're really excited about the Eddie Vedder because it's 2 covers. He's doing a Tom Petty cover, and I think a Pete Townsend cover, which is really cool. But I think the big one, I already own it, but the Black Sabbath Eternal Idol, everybody's been waiting for that one. It's a very difficult record to find. I bought a gold stamp promo, and I think it was definitely over $70. So it's an expensive record. So I think the reissue will be a big one. But for me, it's Tom Waits. That's the one I'm most excited about. How about you guys?
Well, for me, it was the Scott Ian. I want to hear that one really bad. I don't even know what it is exactly, but it's Scott Ian, so I got to get it.
It's a soundtrack to a pinball game.
Oh, that's crazy, but and another one is that Dokken I would have got, but I have that, of course. And
yeah,
that's there was some pretty cool stuff on this one though. I was surprised. It was way better than the last one, I think.
Yeah, I would agree.
Yeah, I thought there was some pretty cool stuff on there, just in terms of stuff that I know people want. Like you mentioned about that Sabbath, like that was one of the ones I thought, people have definitely been dying for that one. Like I have a copy of it myself, but personally, I took just a real quick glance, and there was nothing on there that I was like, oh, I have to have that, which actually is kind of nice. I mean, maybe I'll go back and look at it again, and something else will jump out. But yeah, nothing that I'm really like just clamming over. So that's kind of good, actually.
Yeah.
The Judas Priest live looks interesting too, though.
Yeah.
That's a pretty good era.
Yeah, from 82. What about you, Jeff?
Yeah, I saw that Doors, that it looks like the Strange Days sessions or some outtakes from that album. The Ramones, that Live Loco, which to my knowledge hasn't been available on vinyl, or at least if it has, it's extremely difficult to find. And then the OMD, the Peel sessions, those are the 3 kind of must-haves for me.
Yeah, what I find interesting is there's a couple releases from bands from the 90s that, I would never think would ever get pressed on vinyl. Like one of the later Better Than Ezra vinyl records, one of the later Toad the Wet Sprocket records. And what I find funny is that, those are kind of second tier 90s bands. I do understand a lot of people love them, right? But there's some big 90s bands that albums have never been pressed on vinyl or pressed on vinyl once. A perfect example is, I know that me and Brandon both love the Counting Crows. Like their stuff is super expensive and ideal for record store day, right? Like to release those, I don't get it. Me and Aaron have been messaging Real Gone Music, and they've put out a couple of the releases we wanted. But those are the type of things, these records that, to me, maybe a ton of people don't want them, but they're like $500 records on Discogs if you get an original press. To me, that's what I think Record Store Day should do. They should look and say, okay, Counting Crows Hard Candy is a $600 record. Yeah, maybe 10,000 people don't want it, but we can press 3,000 copies, and those will easily sell. Or XYZ Hungry, or these albums that are super expensive. And if I control Record Store Day, that's what I would do. I'd be like, enough with the picture discs, enough with, live albums are good. I love live albums, but like, let's look at some of these records on Discogs that obviously people want, that we could do small batches of, and they would sell. So
yeah, like I Napoleon. When are we going to get a press?
Exactly. Hell yeah, bro.
You kind of nailed it there, Josh, because I didn't want to go into all of that when I was talking, but you hit it right on the nose. When I start looking at the list, and the first thing I start seeing is live sessions live, like I'm completely turned off. It's like there's so many studio albums that we want. Like, why do we need like another live, the Who live, blah blah blah? It's like, come on.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hey, Alex, how's it going?
Alex,
All right, Alex, we'll make it happen. Counting Crows, come on.
I'm wondering how many of those got destroyed in that fire, though, of the 90s.
Yeah, I think so, but there's probably copies in England, right? They pressed the record in England. They just have to go find the copies. What's really sad is Brian Adams wanted to do like a deluxe issue of like Reckless with like all the outtakes and all the outtakes are destroyed. All the B-sides are destroyed. That's what really sucks about that California fire is, you know, they might still have a master copy somewhere or a second copy somewhere, but the B-sides and the outtakes of some of these artists, they're gone forever.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Well, let's get into our topic for tonight, which is going to be, we're each going to pick 3 musical genres, and then we're going to show what we consider to be 3 essential albums from that particular genre, or our favorite 3 albums from that particular genre. So, Josh, do you want to start us off?
Yeah, absolutely. And to me, I just did essential albums. I can't say that they're my favorite, just because it was too hard to narrow down what my favorite was in 2 hours. But I'm going to start off with a genre that really, I was big into hip hop and rap with Run DMC, LL Cool J, Houdini, all those bands, Beastie Boys. I loved it. And then one day, I went over to my friend's house, and he was like, "I want to play something for you that you've never heard." And it was this album, Straight Outta Compton by NWA. And I couldn't wait to buy the album. And my father would never allow this in my house. Ever. You know, like he would have been totally against it. Even though they were African Americans, just the idea of that word, he would not have allowed. But I fell in love with the album. I hid the album. I got Easy Does It. So my genre is gangster rap. And the 3 essential albums for me, and I'm sticking to the late 80s, early 90s, where it originated, is Straight Outta Compton, The Predator, which Ice Cube was always my favorite rapper back in the day. And this is easily one of my favorite albums. The song Wicked, When Will They Shoot? Today Was a Good Day was the big hit. Amazing. And then I couldn't decide between which Ice-T to pick. OG Original Gangsta may be my favorite, but I really think the Iceberg blew my mind when I heard it, especially songs like Freedom of Speech, Just Watch What You Say. So I love these albums when they came out, and I love them today. So my first genre is gangster rap, and Straight Outta Compton, The Predator, and The Iceberg. Those are my
Straight Outta Compton. I haven't heard the other 2, but I know you're real big on those.
Oh, yeah.
Hey, Trevor, how's it going? Good to see you. Thanks for stopping by. And Alex has a good example of what we were talking about for RSD records that need a pressing because the originals are so damn expensive. Warren Zevon box, 3 records, either grossly overpriced or never pressed. That's his number 1. Yeah, Warren Zevon, definitely. They should just do a box set of his entire catalog. I mean, I don't know how many records he's got, but
well, he's got a lot, and his 90s output is pretty difficult to find on vinyl. So
even just like the 90s or something. So
yeah.
All right, Aaron, you're next.
Well, I'm going to go to a very specific subgenre here. And it's one of my favorite genres or subgenres of late 80s, early 90s heavy metal, and it's the glam sleaze metal. And 3 of my very favorite records of these are this one here. I'll have to start with Tough, What Comes Around Goes Around. This one I spent so much time listening to. It just was always one of my favorites. And the thing about the sleaze metal from the late 80s, early 90s, they were a little heavier than most of the glam rock that was out. That's why I liked it. Had a lot of the hook, but they had a toughness about them. You know, no pun intended there, but they had a toughness to them that wasn't in a lot of the stuff like Poison and Warrant, stuff like that. These bands were kicked a little more ass, and this album was great, and I'm so happy they re-released it on vinyl. So I'm starting out with Tough. What comes around goes around. My next one here I discovered when I was visiting my family in Portland, Oregon. I bought the cassette. There was a Music Millennium a few blocks from my grandma's house where we always stayed. And I went there and I bought the cassette and fell in love with it. And it's Rock's Gang, things you've never done before. And this one here has this amazing guitar work. It's a little heavier. It's got some, but all these have great ballads too. But they're better than most of the ones you know because you never hear them. So stuff like Red Rose off this is amazing. Scratch My Back, Fastest Gun in Town is amazing. This is just a great album, Rock's Gang. And a lot of people don't even know this record, and it's one of my all-time favorites. And then another one of my all-time favorites that I bought because of seeing the video on Headbangers Ball. And when that video came on, me and my friend Jody, we went and we were just all over buying it. And it was Vain, No Respect, because Beat the Bullet was on the video all the time. And this album here is so good. Every song from start to finish, you can play it over and over and never get sick of this album. The title song especially is so good, but every song on it is great. And they have that sleaze metal look, but they're a little heavier, a little more accomplished musicians maybe because their songs are a little more intricate than a lot of the stuff that was going on then. But this one here is an all-time favorite of mine, and all three of these are. And that was just my subgenre number one is the late 80s, early 90s sleaze metal.
Nice.
And this is why I tried to pick genres that Aaron wouldn't pick.
Well, I got 9
No
sets
kidding.
So Josh, does that iceberg have Shut Up, Be Happy with Jello Be Out?
It does. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Nice.
And Aaron, I love all three of those records, man. And I could have easily picked them. So good choices.
Well, thanks.
All right, Brandon.
That's awesome. All right. So one of the genres that I picked kind of revolves around the hard rock and metal. So I'm going to use it before Aaron takes it because I know he has everything sitting at his feet right now. And I'm going to dive into the new metal genre.
Right.
Kind of a genre I think sometimes that it's almost like sometimes the redheaded stepchild of metal for a while, where those that were true thrash and all this type of stuff, I guess, kind of shunned on a little bit, but is actually probably one of my top 3, if not top 2 genres in the whole world of metal. And the thing that I love so much about the new metal is that it's oftentimes not about how technical these guys and girls are, like how blah blah blah, but it's just about the rhythm. It's just those big rhythmic walls of sound is the way I like to put it. And that's the stuff just gets me so freaking pumped up and energized when I'm listening to any type of, again, quote unquote, metal. And this is kind of like a perfect example when you start with Korn, obviously one of the huge bands inside of that category, with songs like Freak on a Leash. And like when you talk about that big rhythmic thing, I'll never forget one day I was listening to this when I was with my ex, and she was in the kitchen and I was in the kitchen. It was playing in the living room. And when the drop came, where they go into the rhythmic drop, she turned to me and goes, "Whoa." Like her, she wasn't a metalhead. She wasn't really into it and all of that. But even that moved her because it was just it's just so tribal. It's just something about it that makes you want to groove with them. And Korn is one of the absolute greatest bands at doing that. Also, one I'm going to throw on there is Kitty. I think Kitty does the same thing. Again, a group that's not technical and all that type of stuff, but they will just groove you down tuned all night long. I've seen them a couple of times live, and those girls are just fantastic. And of course, the ultimate example in this particular genre is my favorite band, which is Godsmack. And that, again, that's the thing that brought me to them. It's just that big rhythmic walls of sound. I love that stuff. And so my favorite song in the genre overall is probably the song Awake by Godsmack. I mean, that'd be the one I think is most defining for me, but those are the 3 I'm going to use to define new metal.
Love it. Yeah, man, my son is obsessed with new metal, so I've been listening to it a ton. You're absolutely right about the way it hits, and it's almost like they took the best parts of what was going on with hip hop, and then took metal and made it have more of a rhythmic, like, kind of flow, if that makes sense. Yeah. And that's how I feel about it. I can see why my son is, hip hop is his favorite genre, but nu metal is a close second. I can see why he loves both,
Yeah. It's very tribal. It's really, really tribal. It's easy to get drawn in, and it's easy to get right on the same page with everyone that's listening to it at that moment.
Yep. Love it.
All right. Well, shocker here. I'm going to start with 80s new wave.
Yeah.
Yeah, go figure. I'm outside my comfort zone here. First one I'm going to show is a Psychedelic Furs from 1982, Forever Now. Everybody who has heard the Psychedelic Furs probably knows the song Love My Way, which is on here. But, like some of the other, there's like NXS, for example, they do have some horns on here, which is very cool. But you got President Gas on here, which is great. No Easy Street. I love the vocals. I love the synth work on here. I love that Love My Way has a xylophone on it. But, new wave, 80s new wave pop is just total ear candy. Love Psychedelic Furs from the moment I saw that video on MTV. Another great classic must-have from this genre is Adam Ant, Friend or Foe. Adam Ant was just amazing, and I don't hear enough people talking about him, but he had hit after hit, great song after great song. Some of my favorite Adam Ant songs are on here, like Desperate But Not Serious is one of my favorite 80s songs of all time. Goody Two Shoes, of course, which was a huge radio and MTV hit for Adam Ant. The title song, Friend or Foe, is great. And this was his first solo album, actually. There were 3 Adam and the Ant albums before this one. So this was technically his first solo album, although he did keep Marco, his longtime Marco Perrone, who would be his longtime collaborator, kind of like how Billy Idol, I forget the guy's name, but he collaborated. Yeah, he collaborated with him for a lot of his solo work, but Adam Ant really was on fire at this point. And then
and that hype is amazing.
What's that?
Yeah, the hype. My heart is beating for that hype.
Yeah, I figure you dig that.
Yeah, I dig it. Yeah. Now I have a new hype.
It's so funny because and I'm like, I got to show this for Josh, but I held out for a copy with a hype sticker for so long because I see so many beat up copies of that record in the bins, and I'm like, I'm not going to settle for that. I know eventually I'm going to find one in decent shape with a hype sticker, and I did, so I was happy to pick that up. And then I'm going to show some B-52s. Nice. This is their second album, Wild Planet. Got one of my favorite B-52 songs on here, Private Idaho, but I love Strobe Light as well. Just really fun rock from Athens, Georgia, the same town as REM, another one of my favorite bands. This is their second album, but I love like even the deeper tracks like Dirty Back Road is so cool. Devil in My Car, but just a fun record, ear candy, almost power pop, like new wave power pop. But anyways, those are my 3 essential albums for anybody looking to get into 80s new wave, which I'm not sure it is, but anyway. Trevor still stands by that first Korn album, so
yeah, that's a great one.
You got his endorsement.
Yeah. Those are good picks, Jeff.
I
actually thought about doing 80s new wave, and the first one that I pulled out was Psychedelic Furs.
Yeah, it's great. I love Talk is a great one. They've got so many great killer 80s albums. But that one's one of my favorites.
That's awesome.
All right, Josh, back to you.
Yeah, so I'm choosing punk, but before you get upset, I did not pick the Clash or the Sex Pistols, even though I do think that those are essential for a punk collection. But I tried to pick the 3 bands that I love the most in the punk rock genre. And my first one is going to be Social Distortion. And there's so many of their albums that I consider essential. and this is my type of punk. It's got a mix of rockabilly, country and western, punk rock, hardcore, just a mixture of everything. But the songs have melody and they're melodic. I absolutely love this band. I love Mike Ness. I love his 2 solo albums. And I don't think Social Distortion has a bad album. I really don't. But this one, Somewhere Between Heaven and Hell, 2 just masterpieces of records. If I was going to pick punk, I had to pick the Misfits, my favorite band, favorite punk band easily. And if you do the collective works of Glenn Danzig, my favorite music on the planet would be Misfits, Samhain, and Danzig. And I picked Collection 1 because I think this is the most essential. This is got almost every song you need by the Misfits. But if you get this and Collection 2, you've pretty much got everything. And this is just a masterpiece. Songs like Where Eagles Dare, Hollywood Babylon, She, some of my favorite songs of all time. And probably the most popular punk band that I really love is the Ramones. Obviously, everybody knows this is an essential album. This is actually, I got this on rhino.com. This is the mono. It sounds incredible. I don't know if it's true mono or if they just did some doctoring in the studio. Yes, there you go. But I love the Ramones. And as years go by, I love them even more. So the Ramones first album, Misfits, and Social Distortion. Those are my 3 essential punk rock albums.
Great choices there.
Thanks, man.
Yeah, good stuff.
And I'm happy that Jeff got into the Misfits.
I got 3 Misfits albums. How about that?
I love it. Yeah, and when you brought Birthday D, I could see how it was startling because it was more hardcore. As Black Flag went heavy metal, the Misfits kind of went hardcore. And then when Glenn started Samhain, it went more goth. So if you listen to Samhain, there's more new wave influences and goth influences. The best way to describe it is kind of like, a heavy metal version of The Cure of Pornography. That's how I can describe Samhain. It's that moody, dark, gothy sound. Nothing like the Misfits. So it would be probably, if you haven't listened to Samhain, it might be startling at first, but I would give it a shot.
Cool. Well, Trevor just reminded us that on RSD they're coming out with that double live Loco live set, which was originally released in the late 90s or mid to late 90s. I don't remember what it was, but it's one of those very hard to find Ramones albums. So very much looking forward to that one.
Is that an earlier or later day Ramones live album?
Later day.
Later.
Yeah, 90s. Yeah.
All right, Aaron.
All right. Well, I've got so many different ones. I'm just going to go with a really more simple. This is like early to mid 80s hard rock bordering on metal. It's like the stuff that some people say is metal, some say it's hard rock. Back then I was saying it was metal. Everyone was. But, now it's all considered hard rock. And there's some great albums that are some of my very favorites from that era. Just like this one here, which is a little known one, but I feel like this is an essential record, even though, you'll see, this is Hits. And this one here is from the early 80s, and they only had 2 albums. Their second album isn't very good, but this one here is fantastic all the way through. And the thing that killed them was their video for Backstabber. It is the most ridiculous video, most cliche, worst video of all time. But if you listen to that song without seeing the video, it's kick-ass. And this whole album, every song on this is amazing. It's a great album, and they kind of have that goofball look. They're not like real metal guys. You can tell.
Did I do a video on that? When I was in Idaho, did I do a video because you were
showing
that?
Yeah, he made me watch it too.
Yeah. It was so ridiculous. It's like, I just laughed. I remember when we watched that video, I showed it to you when you were visiting, Jeff, and we were laughing for like...
Oh, I think I was crying. I was laughing so hard. Yeah.
But the record itself is amazing, and it's just one of those that no one even really knows about, but it's just really good. I love this album. I think I played it on a Tipsy Tuesday once, but I'm not sure. I'm going to have to do that again just to everyone can imagine the video while my video's playing. And then the second one here, and this one is one that I didn't really know about until 2 or 3 years after it was out. And a lot of my friends had it on cassette, and I was like, oh, that looks pretty cool. And then one day a neighbor of mine was playing it out of his window. He had an upstairs window, and I was like, oh my God, that is so killer. And I loved it, and I fell in love with this record. And it's Axe Offering. Now, Axe had 4 records, but this one here is by far their best. It's so good. It's an absolute classic, and it's kind of gone under the radar now, but it was pretty popular when it was out. A lot of people had it, and it's just, it's got their hit on there was Rock and Roll Party in the Streets, which is a good song. But there's like 4 or 5 essential songs on this, like Still Another Fantasy, Now or Never, and Silent Soldiers. Those are as good as any of the early 80s songs that were out. And they do a really great version of I Got the Fire, the Montrose song on this, where it's even more rocking than the Montrose version. So good. I love this album so much. And this album should have been like with Quiet Riot, Metal Health, and Pyromania, like as popular as those, I think. It had the songs for it. And then the early 80s hard rock, I can't leave this record out. My favorite by this band, and it's a Fair Warning, of course, by Van Halen. It just blows me away every time I hear it. Eddie's got guitar work I don't think has ever been better. I think they were like firing on all cylinders. It doesn't have big hits on it, but every song is just flows into the next. So good. I love this album. Of course, Unchained with that killer riff, one of the best riffs of the 80s. But I love the instrumentals, Sunday Afternoon in the Park. And what I think is maybe the most underrated Van Halen song, which is Hear About It Later. That song should have been a huge hit, I think. I love Hear About It Later. Mean Street, of course, to start it off. There's an absolute essential record here, Van Halen, Fair Warning. And it's cool when you hear, there's people that are into Van Halen but don't know them very well. And you introduce them to that now, and they're like kind of blown away by it. I've done that with a few people here in town, and it's really fun to see the reaction when they're hearing it, not knowing that record because they didn't have the big hits.
Well, there's such a vibe to that record that, you immediately know, like if you hear a song off that, you immediately know it's off Fair Warning, where, songs off Women and Children First or Van Halen 2. I mean, I don't know what it is about it. I mean, it's still Ted Templeman who's producing it, so I don't know, but there's just a certain aesthetic to that particular album that makes it special, that kind of sets it. I think it stands out from the first 4 Van Halen records. I think Eddie Van Halen was at his peak songwriting prowess, writing riffs, writing great melodies. I think, David Lee Roth was coming into his own as a spectacular vocalist. People disagree with me, but I've always loved like David Lee Roth's vocals on Fair Warning and Diver Down, I think are some of his best vocals that he ever did. But
completely agree. Great picks, Aaron. Are you gonna buy the One Step?
Yes.
Yeah.
And Women and Children First. And the first one, if I can get it, I'd buy One Step, and I'll buy the 84. If they put them all out, I'll try to get those. They'll probably be the only One Steps I'll have in my collection, but I don't care because they're so amazing sounding. Thank you so much for that, too.
Yeah, it's awesome.
No problem.
I remember listening to that with you, and it was just.
Oh, yeah. It was unbelievable.
Spanish fly. You're like Eddie almost moving in the background. And
at
least to me.
Yeah.
That's cool.
Cool.
I saw that Brandon, you just got that record too, huh? The One Step.
Yeah, the Van Halen 2. Yeah. I haven't spun it yet. I haven't had a chance to spin it yet, but yeah, I'm looking forward to it for sure.
It's incredible. Absolutely incredible. Yeah. Right. Go get that first one, Aaron, before it becomes like a $300 record.
Yeah, I'll have to find a way to get it.
I keep looking for you, but hard to find.
Yeah.
All right. So am I up?
Yep.
Yes, sir.
Okay. So I was trying to think of things again that I thought maybe that wouldn't be taken up, and maybe I'm kind of making up this genre, but one that came to mind was what I refer to as American country is kind of the genre, and what that means to me is it's more so like country music that has like or an artist or an album has like a really, really positive kind of, I'm not gonna say pro-American vibe, but just kind of a But I guess that is kind of an American vibe to it. It's just stuff like that is just kind of very moving to me. So
Sure.
one of the first ones I'll start off with here, and I'm not gonna say it's my favorite, but these were the first three that came to mind when I thought about this genre. And the first one is Aaron Watson, American Soul. You can kind of see the back there, which gives a cool indication of what you're getting there. I think I should have done the cover, actually. That's pretty, I love that shot. But yeah, again, it's just, it's country music, yes, but there's a number of things on here, like the title track, American Soul, another one that is called Dog Tags. And again, he's singing about stuff like with American Soul, he's going into things like, talking about how freedom isn't free, and he's referring to, people working hard every day, like the steel toe workers and the hard hats. And he makes references about Amazing Grace and, watching the Yankees, watching the Cowboys, like how American that is, of football, baseball. And he even makes a couple of lines like in that particular title track about those rotten Republicans and those darn Democrats. Like he's just like summing up all the stuff that makes America, America. But at the same time, he's talking about it like there's a bigger soul to all of us as opposed to these individual things that we kind of harp on. And I think that genre stands out to me. Again, I label it as American country just because like one of the things that people may not know as much with my personal history or my family history is my dad is first generation over here from Africa. And and he fled here like literally under the threat of having his head cut off. So it was like a political asylum, and he came over here and, wanted to get in, and he went and waited in Canada for 9 months, came in, and like the way I really kind of view that is when I look what this country has given me and my family, like our generations have carried on because he was able to come here. Cause like literally he was on a hit list from a government. And so when I hear that type of stuff about small community, what this country offers and taking care of each other, looking out for each other, being proud of who you are, what you are, and all of that, that stuff really hits me very, very deep. And I think modern day country music that kind of touches on that is always something that's really moving. So Aaron Watson is definitely a big one there. Another one I would say is Justin Moore. And this is album, This Is My Dirt. And again, I won't go into the whole album, but just kind of maybe just pointing on the title track, exact same thing. It's telling a story about a guy that comes along, wants to buy this land, redevelop it. And the guy is just like, I can't sell it. Like this is my dirt. This is where I raised my family. This is where I made my living. This is what my grandpa passed on to me. It's like on and on and on about just kind of like that, that just core basic living, if you will. And then the third one that came to mind was Jason Aldean, another great one here. Highway Desperado. And, again, with songs like Try That in a Small Town and other things like that. Again, it's just kind of talking about the unity, the tightness, and just kind of the basic day-to-day living, heartfelt day-to-day living that, people in small communities kind of typically have. And so, I think that's just real powerful stuff. So that's a genre that always sticks out to me. Well,
you had me until you said Yankees. Does he have any songs they bash the Yankees?
You know what I want a country artist to do? The artist that you just described, Brandon, I wanted to put out an album and all the songs are about like fucking science fiction themes, like other planets or spaceships or like, Lord of the Rings shit, or like just like progressive rock topics. Just for once, I want a country, like Jason Aldean to do an album about, planets beyond our solar system and shit like that. That would blow
Star Wars. Yeah, the Han Solo theme song.
Yeah, like a whole Star Wars themed album.
I think that's a niche for you, Jeff.
Exactly.
Totally a niche for you. And it's so funny, JC, when I thought about the whole Yankees thing, I literally thought about apologizing when I said it. But I just kept rolling and didn't think about it. But when I first was pulling that stuff out, I was like, I'm gonna have to apologize to him. There's no way Yankees is going down like that.
Yeah, you know what, Brandon, which is awesome, you told that story about your dad, because my grandparents were from Portugal. Michelle's parents are from Portugal. So, we're second generation or third generation in this country. So yeah, I feel blessed to be an American. I always tell Landon, Landon's like, we're Portuguese. I'm like, yes, we're Portuguese, but we're American. Like this is our country. We're born in America. And our ancestors and, your grandparents and Michelle's parents fought hard to come here. So yeah, I could totally get the American pride.
Hell yeah, man.
Yep.
It's easy to crap on it while you're sitting in the middle of it.
Right.
Like, that's the way I always kind of feel about that. It's when you're sitting on your iPhone or, in the comfort of your home and relative safety and everything else, it's easy to crap on the things you maybe not like about it. But in no place I'd rather be, man. I'm glad this country let my father in and gave us what it's given us.
Absolutely.
Yeah, my grandparents were from Greece. They came over from Greece. My dad's dad. He actually, it was his parents, and he was the first full-blooded Greek born in Idaho, Greek boy.
That's awesome.
Weird little fact, but yeah. So they were goat herders and originally from Sparta.
Geez, damn, we're all not that far away from just one or two generations out. That's
Yeah.
kind of cool.
All right, enough of that Lee Greenwood shit. I'm gonna shift gears and talk about a genre nobody gives a fuck about, but I do not care. I gotta shake things up here a little bit. I'm gonna go with 60s psychedelic garage rock.
Oh yeah.
And with one of arguably the first heavy metal albums, Blue Cheer,
Definitely.
Vincebus Eruptum from 1968, one of the earliest examples of heavy metal. And you listen to this, and it's really not altogether different from like Led Zeppelin's first album, Black Sabbath's first album. It's heavy, it's bluesy, it's got that cover of Eddie Cochran's Summertime Blues on here. It's their first album. But yeah, it's really heavy, and I don't know how many albums these guys put out, but it's funny because I remember on MTV in the 80s, they didn't show many videos in black and white, but this was one of the first ones, and all you saw was their hair. You couldn't even see their faces. I just remember like this power trio, and it was like some beat club video for Summertime Blues, and all you saw was just like three guys. All you saw was their hair. Like you couldn't pick them up out of a police lineup. But they were just all just like kicking ass. And I'm like, oh my God, I'd never seen anything like that before. But great band, great example of garage rock. The next one I'm going to show is the Blues Magoos and Electric Comic Book. This is their second album from 1967. There were no hits off here. On their first record, they had, I think, 2 hits. Tobacco Road was one of them. But this one is kind of all over the map stylistically. There is some hard and heavy garage rock on here, but there's also kind of like some flowery pop as well, some like mellow, slower stuff on here. There's a couple instrumentals. The thing that's, is kind of like what Van Halen would go on to do. Like the very last song is like a 6-second snippet of the Warner Brothers That's All Folks theme. It's just like this really quick garage rock instrumental, like Send Up, which I think is a very cool way to close out the album. And you got little caricatures like you might find at amusement park, little caricatures of the band on the back. And then the last one I'm going to show from Philadelphia, Rich Strickler, if you're out there, The Nazz featuring Todd Rundgren. The 2 big songs off here were Open My Eyes, and then a song that Todd Rundgren would redo on his Something Anything album, Hello, It's Me. Although the version on here is way slower, much mellower, doesn't even much resemble the version that he would kind of, turn into a pop classic in the early 70s. But this one also is really stylistically, it's almost more power pop than it is garage rock. I mean, there is some gritty stuff on here, but also Todd Rundgren, was a great composer of melodic pop melodies. And it's definitely, he writes every single song except for one on this album. So definitely precursor to things to come. But those are what I consider 3 essential garage rock albums. Thank you, 8 Vinyl Low. Glad I'm getting some love. Naz, you see, Rich,
There you go.
I knew he was here. I go Eagles. I swear to God, I want the Eagles to kick those fucking Chiefs ass. I hate the Chiefs.
Not gonna happen.
Patrick Mahomes.
Not gonna happen.
Eagles to run up and down the field. Come on, you can do it.
It's not gonna happen.
With you,
I
Jeff.
think we're going to need the suicide hotline for Jeff on Sunday.
No, I can't take
Definitely.
another Chiefs victory. Screw you, Taylor Swift. I can't stand the Kelseys.
Hey,
Dude,
Jeff,
don't get the Swifties against us. We love you, Taylor.
The blue shirt, and I think that might be where they got hair metal from.
What's that?
What's that?
So that Blue Cheer record is awesome. And I guess that might be where they got hair metal from, the term, when you said all that about their hair. It started back then.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Mhm.
No, for sure.
And Jeff, I'm assuming that's the same Tobacco Road that David Lee Roth covered, or no?
Yes, it is.
Yep.
And Eric Burden and Moore.
Yep.
Yep.
That's my favorite version. It's the Eric Burden and Moore version.
Yeah, no, it's awesome. I love that stuff.
All right. Well, my last genre, as you guys know, I'm not a big progressive music fan, but there are some progressive metal that I absolutely love. And there is some progressive rock that I like, especially King Crimson. I think they're amazing. Some early Genesis, but progressive metal I love. And there's 3 albums that I really love. And the first one I consider to be one of the greatest albums of the 80s. I know it's not a lot of people's favorite album by this band, but I cannot get enough of Operation Mindcrime. And I just think this is the perfect record for vinyl. You know, side 1, it starts off with, but besides the little spoken word intro, I remember now, goes Anarchy X into Revolution Calling. Those are 2 songs that build on each other. By the end of those 2 songs, you're super pumped. And then it goes into Operation Mindcrime, Speak, Spreading the Disease, and The Mission, which is just like a roller coaster ride. And they start off side 2 with Sweet Sister Mary, which I love. It's like a duet, and it's so good. They go into Needle Eyes, Electric Requiem, Breaking the Silence, and then 2 of the biggest hits Queensryche ever had are at the end with Eyes of a Stranger and I Don't Believe in Love, right? So like you're ending the album with massive hits. I love this album. If I did a ranking of my favorite 80s albums, this would easily be on it. I just cannot get enough of it. And Aaron, thank you for the live box set that you sent me of that. There's a live version, Operation Live Crime. The next band I discovered because I was, there used to be this guy that worked in the warehouse of this furniture store I used to train for. And he said, hey man, have you heard this song called Blood and Thunder? And it's this band called Mastodon. And I hadn't heard of them. He goes, hey, the singer Clutch sings on that song. You should check it out. And this is before Apple Music or streaming. So I actually went out and bought the CD. And I thought the CD was really good. And he goes, well, they have a new one called Crack the Sky. And this album is a masterpiece. I need a little bit better copy. This is probably the worst cover in all of my collection, but I found this at a thrift store. I was like, Mastodon at a thrift store, I need it. And they have a remaster, which I want to buy, but this is a masterpiece. The song Crack the Sky, it's spelled S-K-Y-E, and the reason why is the drummer's sister committed suicide when they were both children, and he never got over it. And he wrote this song, Crack the Sky, which is a beautiful song. This band has 3 singers. The bassist sings, the guitarist sings, and the drummer sings. The drummer has the prettiest voice out of the 3, the most melodic. That's the way of saying it. Where the other 2 have more of a metal voice. But man, this is a masterpiece. Totally recommend it. And then lastly, easily in my top 5 favorite bands of all time, Tool. I chose Lateralis just because most people consider this a prog masterpiece. My favorite album by them is Anima, but this is up there. This is just a really great record. Crazy time signatures. The songs are long. This is one of those albums I put on, and Michelle will say, are they going to have any vocals on this album? There's like 7 minutes of instrumental music with weird time signatures, and But this is a great album. I recommend I think Tool is one of those bands to me that have a perfect discography. So yeah, there's no Tool album I don't like, so you could choose any of them. But those are my 3 essential prog metal albums.
Is that a baseball on the cover?
Tool does these weird things with art and eyeballs and weird. Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah. Tool's one of those bands, so it's so funny because me and my son, I should say, Carter, were bitching about Morrissey and how he changes the album cover, but it doesn't pick something cooler. Like Tool, Tool will one day remaster this or remix it, and they'll have a completely different cover, but it will totally kick ass. Morrissey is just like, give me an old black and white photo of a horse. I'm going to change the cover to that.
Yeah.
That almost looks like a Metal Olympics cover.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And if you don't like the cover, just wait. They'll re-release it with a different one.
Well, Steve Tinta is calling you out saying that he doesn't consider Mindcrime prog metal.
Yeah. Okay.
What would you call it then, I guess?
Yeah. Well, here's the thing is anytime you talk about progressive music, people are going to get upset. If you go to Wikipedia, it calls it prog metal. I don't know. I apologize.
You call anything prog at your own risk because there are fans out there who will say, absolutely not. It's not prog rock.
Exactly.
Yeah.
That Mindcrime, it might be my favorite by them, but I like Grateful Order just a little better because that's when I got into them, I think. But you're right, that's an absolute classic record. I listened to it to death when it was first out.
Oh yeah, me too.
It helps if you have a Roger Dean cover, I guess, but
if they had just done that,
then there'd be no
question. All set.
Yeah. All right, Aaron.
Well, I've got a few different ones. I'll let you guys pick which one I use. How's that? So I've got either stoner metal, I've got grunge, I've got bluesy metal, I've got classic 80s metal. There's a theme here. Or I got 70s metal, but kind of 70s hard rock metal. Then
Do you have any yacht rock?
I should. I like yacht rock. And then I also have 3 of my very favorite greatest hits compilations from the 60s.
Well, my vote would be for blues metal, but before others vote, I'm just going to say that Queensryche Operation Mindcrime was voted the number 3 greatest prog metal album of all time. So it's not just me, buddy, that thinks it's prog metal.
There you go. Well, see, Josh, what Aaron's doing is he knows that you, Brandon, and I are each going to pick a different genre, and he's going to be, all right, I'll show them all. Twist my arm.
Yeah, and I was going to pick classic 80s. I was just so curious about what you're going to show.
I would have picked grunge.
Go ahead, Aaron. Just show whatever the hell you want, dude.
So maybe do the one. Yeah, I was going to say, do the one you want to do. Maybe flash those other 2 really quick.
Exactly.
So we can see all 3 of those.
The grunge one was this.
All right.
That's this.
Awesome.
Great.
Oh, heck yeah.
All masterpieces.
I would have guessed 2 of those.
Classic
Yeah.
80s metal was this.
Hell yeah. All right.
And this.
Nice.
Okay. I wasn't expecting the Accept.
Yeah, I'll say the same thing. I didn't see that coming.
Yeah.
I love Accept, especially that album and Balls to the Wall and Metal Heart. Those 3 I absolutely love. The other ones are really good, but those 3. So I'll go with the bluesy metal. It's like late 80s, early 90s blues metal, right at the same time as the sleaze rock. And it's almost sleaze metal too, but these artists didn't have the makeup. They were more almost like not a grunge look, but jeans and just normal looking guys, but they had the sleaze metal attitude and a lot of bluesy influence. And so I'm going to start that with, this is a huge surprise for anyone that knows me, with Sweet FA, Stick to Your Guns.
There you go.
got to promote every single video because I love this album so much. Starting with Prince of the City, and it just catches you right off the bat, right into Nothing for Nothing, and it just, oh my God, I love this record so much. I've seriously probably heard this a few thousand times, and I never get tired of it. Especially when I have a beer or two, it gets even better. Has my favorite power ballad of all time called Heart of Gold, and the really rockin' Whiskey River and Devil's Road, those two, and it ends with an acoustic song, which is awesome, called Southern Comfort. And it's just, see, if you look at them, they don't have the makeup and stuff, but they're kind of in that same era, same type of deal. A little heavier than the normal, what people call hair metal. They lump this in there, but these bands are a little more raw and heavy than that. And my second one from this is going to be Spread Eagle with their debut record. A really raw New York band. It's heavier than the normal, like what you call hair metal. Still got all the hooks though, and it's like even some of it's real fast, almost like speed metal fast at times, but not really. And here's what they look like. You can tell they don't have all the makeup, and they kind of just look like street guys, like the street tough type guys. This is one of my all-time favorite records here, Spread Eagle. Every song's great. Switchblade Serenade was their video. That's a great song, but every song is killer on this. Really moody at times and real heavy, just in your face rock. And the last one, and this is another one of my all-time favorites here, Nobody Said It Was Easy from the Four Horsemen. Mm-hmm. They're very similar, very bluesy, and they just kick ass. And that cover is just killer. This is the original copy. They even mentioned Idaho in the song Wanted Man, which I always thought was cool. But Tired Wings is phenomenal. Rockin' Is My Business. Just, it's almost like, I don't know what you say, AC/DC, but more bluesy type of thing. Awesome record, Four Horsemen. Only one record, and they had an EP because the singer died like shortly after this. He was also in a band called Alias, like one album with them before Four Horsemen. But this album here, all-time classic. And I've got a video series coming up, and all these albums will be in that somewhere. So I'm working on it for over a year, this video series, and I'm waiting to get it completely finalized before I get going on it. But those 3 albums there are going to be in the top of the top.
So I love that you also picked an album for Rich Strickler too.
Which one?
The Spread Eagle.
Yeah, Philadelphia.
Go Eagles! Come on.
There you go.
I love green today.
I've been a fan since the 70s.
Yeah.
Always the Chiefs have always been the team that I didn't care for. The Raiders too, Broncos, but it's the Chiefs have always been a thorn in my side. Even before the current Chiefs. But I do respect some of their players. I really like Derek Thomas. I loved him. He was great.
Yeah.
Him in a 7-sack game. You guys really missed out on the Stoner Rock one, though. Stoner Metal with Hermano, Clutch, and Caius.
How many more genres you got down there, Aaron?
There's no telling, man.
The one that you would like, Jeff, would be my 60s compilations, which are the Animals. And then you got the Beach Boys, Endless Summer. Going from a single album, a double album, to a quadruple album.
I love it.
From the 60s. Songs from the 60s on.
I love that you broke the genre down to the type of album it was as a compilation.
I go to many levels.
That's how record collectors are, though. Like, yeah. I love it. So good. All right.
Oh, man. All right. Am I up?
Yep, you got it.
Okay. So naturally, once again, I try to stay away from anything hard rock or metal or anything because Aaron's like a bully that's not even in the room bullying you. Like you fear him and his knowledge and everything he's gonna bring to the table. You're like, if I pick this out, he's gonna crush it and already have it.
I'm showing 8 genres. God damn it! I don't care what the rules are.
It's so funny because again, I literally was think about something that Aaron might not pick, like that literally was running through my mind. And so the genre I thought I would go with is on the jazz side, looking at free jazz, actually.
All right.
I don't remember Aaron ever showing any free jazz. I'm sure he has some in there somewhere. But free jazz is definitely something that never made sense to me when I first got into jazz and all that kind of stuff. It's one of those things where everyone just says it sounds like a bunch of noise. because it sounds like nobody is playing the same thing. Like they were all handed 5 different sheets of music and someone just hit record. And then somewhere along the line, 8 or 9 years ago, the stuff just started making sense. And I have no idea how, why, or what. But this is one of my absolute favorites, starting with Ascension by John Coltrane. You know, he went through a bunch of different phases in his career. We kind of, you know, was kind of there for a while with Miles Davis early on. So it was kind of, you know, just clean cut genius jazz. And then there was kind of times we started getting a little more creative and going into kind of this free jazz stuff. And just a lot of different areas of his career. But his free jazz is definitely one that I absolutely love. And on here, like, you have some of the absolute biggest names in all of jazz, like not only just Coltrane himself, but Freddie Hubbard, Elvin Jones, McCoy Tyner, I mean, Archie Shepp, Art Davis, just some of the absolute biggest names. And again, when you play this thing, you would swear none of them are playing the exact same song. But there's just there's something about that just kind of makes sense. And this is like a fantastic example of what free jazz is.
Doesn't Sonny Bono play tambourine on that album? Or
I think so.
Yeah.
Tambourine and little cymbals on his fingers, whatever you call those things. And then the next one here is still a Coltrane album, and this is John Coltrane, Interstellar Space, and this is the exact same thing. It's except it's only 2 people on this album. It's Rashid Ali and John Coltrane, so a drummer and a sax player. And again, I think this copy, if I remember, is recorded in stereo. So again, you have a drummer on one side and a sax player coming out the other speaker, and neither one of them are playing the same song. It just sounds like whatever it sounds like, but I love it. Again, for some reason, it makes sense. And the third one that I would pick is kind of my favorite out of the genre is Sun Ra, and this is a Strange Strings. I mean, Sun Ra was just kind of a strange dude himself. I think there was definitely some mental illness that was kind of floating around with him throughout most of his career, but perfect title to the album, Strange Strings. This sounds like there was an orchestra backstage that was getting warmed up, and somebody snuck into the room and set a microphone in the middle of the room, and they didn't know about it, and they were all just warming up and doing their thing. That literally is what it sounds like. And again, something about it is just freaking moving to me. I don't understand why. It touches something. So those are 3, I think, very core essential picks for the free jazz world.
And isn't Ornette Coleman, isn't he one who kind of like invented that whole genre?
He definitely has kind of the same thing with Coltrane. He had just kind of a straightforward career, but then his stuff inside of that free jazz world, he's one of the legends there too.
Mm-hmm.
It's really cool stuff. And there's a lot of stuff out there too that's kind of mixtures where you can listen to an album and you're not quite sure if it's free jazz or if it's because this song sounds very traditional. This one's a little more edgy. Okay, that one's weird. This one's more traditional. And there's a lot of those guys that did stuff like that too, where it's kind of even hard to place them.
I'd be interested to hear that one with the drums and the saxophone. That sounds interesting.
Yeah, it's pretty cool.
All right. Well, I'm going to let you guys pick. I can either do surf rock, I can do indie rock, I can do alt rock, I can do power pop, I can do jangle pop, I can do alt country, I can do indie rock, I can do
I vote indie or alt country.
Thrash metal.
Indie. I'll go with Brandon and say indie.
All right. Did I hear synth pop? All right, synth pop. I'm going to go outside my wheelhouse here. Yeah, go figure. Gee, what a freaking surprise. Jeff would pick something like that. But all right, first album I'm going to show is Kraftwerk, The Man Machine from 1978. Did you know Kraftwerk has been around since 1970? 1970, when there were still hippies walking the earth. You had Kraftwerk. And the funny thing is, we associate them with strictly like synthesizer, electronic music, but they actually had like flutes and more, or they were actually more kind of like progressive rock in their early days than what we now associate with Kraftwerk. But anyway, this is 1978, and this is where they finally like started moving more in a commercial direction. There's more kind of dance rhythms on this album. The Robots is probably the most familiar song for anybody who is even marginally familiar with Kraftwerk. But there's also Neon Lights on here, which one of my favorite bands, OMD, did a cover of on the Sugar Tax album, which, speaking of, can we please get a vinyl release of that album? But very cool. And there's not a lot going on here. Like, it's just kind of like basic electronic rhythms, but there's some synthesizer melodies. But it's very much in keeping with the whole aesthetic of Kraftwerk, where it's sparse arrangements, repetitive rhythms, kind of this mechanical, industrial kind of feel to the record. But I love this one a lot. It's not a very long album, even though it only has technically 5 songs on it, but the Robots, I think, is the longest one. But still, it's like the birth of the early synth pop that we know in the 80s. And one of the artists who really was influenced by that late 70s Kraftwerk was Randy Newman. Randy Newman. I love LA. Randy Newman, the synth pop pioneer. No, Gary Newman, synth pop pioneer. And he was in a band called Tubeway Army for 2 records before he broke out solo with his first album, The Pleasure Principle, which would be released right after this album. This album was actually released in 1979 before the song Cars. I think this album and then his first solo album, Pleasure Principle, were both released in the same year. But very much early, like the pioneers of what we were more familiar with in the 1980s as synth pop. And it's kind of a loose concept album. It's basically about this totalitarian, dystopian society of the future where there's like the rulers are called the gray men and the soldiers are these androids that have like human skin on them. It's very kind of convoluted. But anyway, there's probably a song that if you are in any way familiar with this, that you might have heard are Our Friends Electric, but, a little bit dark, just given the theme of the whole album. But I love Gary Newman. He's one of those very underrated artists. People talk about, if you're going to talk synth pop, you're going to talk probably Depeche Mode, Thomas Dolby, New Order, Pet Shop Boys, etc. But Gary Newman influenced every single one of those artists. And even though his only real commercial hit was that song Cars, still, he was really at the forefront of that whole movement where it's nothing but synthesizers. Usually, to this point, you may use synthesizers, but at least you'd have maybe like organic drums, or you might have some guitar, or you might have some keyboard, that were not synthesizers on here. But anyway, very melodic, very songs that will stick in your head. I'll say that. So I love that one. And then the last one I'm going to show is the second album by the Human League. And this was before, like this Human League, this version, this is their second album here. This is called Travelogue. The cover is actually, it was taken from a National Geographic magazine, the photo from this front cover. But listen to this. It sounds nothing like the Human League that most people are familiar with, starting with their next album, Dare, which had Don't You Want Me on it. And then, they had a string of kind of more synthy pop songs and records in the 1980s. This was released in April of 1980. It's the last album where it's an all-male. It was just guys in this band. They were a quartet at this point. And then Martin Ware and Ian Craig Marsh actually left to form the band Heaven 17, which was kind of more of a sophistopop band. They left. And then the rest of the band, the 2 remaining members, they recruited 2 female members, Joanne Catherall and Susan Ann Sully, who would transform into the Human League that most people are familiar with. But this is like more like Ultravox or like Depeche Mode's first album. Just very dark. I don't want to go as far as to say it's like goth, but it absolutely sounds nothing like the Human League of all those hits, like Human or Keep Feeling Fascination, Mirror Man, like all those hits. It sounds nothing like this. This is an entirely different band. It's much darker, almost like early Cure in a way, in that it's got almost like a gothic kind of a darker feel to it, but an essential album nonetheless. One of those early albums that would go on to influence a host of synth pop bands afterwards. There are the four guys right there. And they do have, strangely enough, they have the lyrics printed on the back of the record album. Like, when was the last time you saw an album from the 80s that had the lyrics on the back?
Yeah.
Pretty strange. But anyway.
Jeff, I thought of a good idea. Since we're going to have one of Brandon's country bands sing about Lord of the Rings, let's have Gary Newman sing about America.
Exactly. Or about their tractor, or
We'll mix it up. We'll
about
start
their
mixing up
land
these
getting
genres.
repossessed or whatever, You're not
Yeah,
going to
we'll
take my land. My land's been
Yeah.
here for 50 generations. You're not taking it.
We'll get Brett Michaels on the phone. We'll tell him no more songs about good times and being happy. We want. I'm depressed. I have,
Right.
I have problems in my life. I have a woman that cheated on me. We'll mix up all the genres.
I know, Kelly. Could you imagine a Human League song called "Don't Tread on Me"?
So, guys, I know we just went through our list, but there were two things that happened this week that I would love to pick your brain before we sign off. One is the Ozzy Black Sabbath reunion show, which, if you guys haven't heard,
With Bill Ward is part of
Bill
that.
Ward. I think, honestly, this is really cool because they normally save these things for when people are dead, but instead, obviously Ozzy's not going to sing a lot of songs. My guess is that he's going to sing 3 of his solo songs and 3 Sabbath songs. But that's why they got all of these people to play: Metallica, Slayer, Alice in Chains, Gojira, Korn, Limp Bizkit, Rage Against the Machine, all of these bands, Sammy Hagar, Wolfgang Van Halen. So what I think it's going to be a lot like the Freddie Mercury concert, where maybe they'll have Black Sabbath on stage, and then the singers can go up there, or maybe the band goes, because Sammy Hagar said he got to pick who he wanted on each instrument. So my guess is that he's going to play with Wolfgang, because he's always wanted to play with Wolfgang. But it'll be interesting to see who plays bass and who plays drums. So I want your opinion on that. And then lastly, one of the bands I love, and I know Jeff loves, is a band called Dawes. And a lot of people don't know this band. Unfortunately, they both brothers lost their home in the California fire. But because of that, they played the Fire Aid concert and they played the Grammys, which I don't watch the Grammys, but they actually had Dawes on the Grammy. So it's like this tiny band that nobody knows is opening the Grammys. So just your thoughts on if you watch the Fire Aid or the Grammys. I didn't watch the Grammys, but I did watch the Fire Aid. So, all right, guys, what's your thoughts on those things?
Well, I will say, first of all, not to step over anybody, but like, why the fuck would you invite Limp Bizkit to that concert? Seriously, you already undermined the credibility of the goddamn concert when you brought Fred Durst into it. Like, seriously, okay, why don't we invite Smash Mouth now? If we're gonna do that, like, seriously.
But dude, I hate to break it to you, but Limp Bizkit is one of the biggest bands right now. My son Carter is flying to Tennessee to go see them. Like
Nickelback.
They're just super popular right now. But go ahead, Jeff.
I'm already depressed about the state of the world, and then to hear you say Limp Bizkit has had some sort of renaissance of their popularity, like.
I don't know what to tell you. Are you excited about the idea of Ozzy playing one last time? They're saying this is it. He's never going to perform after that.
I guess.
No?
I mean, I'm more excited about the fact that, Bill Ward is back.
All right.
playing with Black Sabbath, but as far as Ozzy, I mean, it is what it is. I mean, people just be happy, even if Ozzy went up there and farted for 20 minutes. It's like I don't, if this is the last time we see Ozzy on stage, I mean, there's something profound about that. Like, it's just great to see. It's almost like coming full circle. Ozzy started with the Black Sabbath, and now his final concert will be with the band he started with. So I'm on board with that. And nobody's under any impression that Ozzy is going to be able to sing like he once did. I mean, and it's not Ozzy's fault. It's great, I think, to have the band back together. Everybody, I think, is going to be very forgiving no matter what comes out of his mouth. Maybe he'll even bite the head off a bat just for old times. There, I don't know, but I don't know. I think it's bitter. I've got no issues with it except for goddamn Limp Bizkit.
You just ruined the whole thing. It's like, here's some free tickets, Jeff. Not if Limp Bizkit's on the ticket.
Do I sound like a grumpy old man? I might betraying my age.
Jeff would be flying to Birmingham if it wasn't for damn Limp Bizkit. Jeff, did you watch the Fire Aid concert?
I would watch. Yeah, I would. Yeah, I love Dawes. I'm sad to hear that they lost their home. Did they come out with an album this year? They
did. Yeah, it's good. It's not as good as the others, though. I will say it's their weakest album, but it's still good. But the cool thing about the Fire Aid concert is, and I've never really listened to this artist, but Pink came out and did Led Zeppelin, and she did the most unbelievable version of Babe, I'm Gonna Leave You. It was so, so good. So if you guys get a chance to watch Fire Aid, that performance is absolutely amazing. And also the Black Crowes with Slash did a Going to California, which was awesome too.
Is it all Led Zeppelin?
No, but there were a lot of bands did covers. Just because they were trying to raise money, so, but it was good. It was a good concert.
Okay. So Gary is here and he chimed in wanting to know, will Wolfgang want to play with Sammy? I would not. If I were Wolfgang, fuck that fat, fucking, this is the thing about Sammy Hagar. Like, Sammy, come on. What the hell happened to you? It's like he's this drunk fuck walking around, waddling around on stage. Half the time he's blitzed out of his mind. He's totally resting on his laurels. Sammy Hagar is more about who he hangs out with than anything that he's put out recently. The Cabos, whatever, fucking Chicken Foot, all this bullshit music that he's put out. And, I've never been a Sammy Hagar fan after the Van Halen years anyway. But, the fact that Sammy's got a grovel. I'd love to play with Wolf. Sammy, come on, have some dignity, will you? Anyway, that's probably way off base. I'm just in a mood to just hate on everything.
I get it, dude, man. I like Sammy.
I know. I was like, I'm just going.
All he's interested in doing is give me another margarita. Let me be the new version. I want to be the new Jimmy Buffett, where I just lay on a beach, get fatter and fatter, basically, put out nothing new of substance, and just stay, I'm drunk all the fucking time. I'm on my yacht or whatever the hell he does, and he's rubbing elbows with all these artists who, are I don't know. I mean, don't get me started. Let somebody else talk, because all that's going to come out of my mouth is vitriol and bile. So somebody else.
Okay. Well, I just want to say, Gary, I do think that Wolfgang would play with Sammy as long as they didn't play Van Halen material, which I doubt they will.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think they'll play Sabbath material. I think every band may do one or two of their hits, but my guess is most of the bands are going to go up there and do Sabbath material.
Right.
I hope they stream it.
I think
it would be cool.
I mean, I didn't get a chance to see either one of them, but again, JC, I agree with exactly what you said. That, like, thank goodness we're not waiting for someone to pass away before we do this. You know,
Right.
it's like Ozzy's still here, you know, for what he can do. He can still get around. It's like, let's celebrate him. Let's celebrate Sabbath now. Because like one of the things that kind of bugs me is when you have situations like I would rather see this, even if Ozzy doesn't give a great performance and all that kind of stuff. It's like, I don't care. Have the great on stage one more time. Because I would rather
Right.
have that than something like the whole like Plant and Page, who have been around for damn ever, but like no Led Zeppelin for the past 30, 40 years. Like that gets on my nerves more than like somebody not being able to still do what they did back in the day. So
Right.
yeah, I think it's great, man. It's a freaking all-star cast, all-star lineup. The one concert you can probably charge as much as you want for a ticket, and I can't really bitch about it. But I do.
Yeah.
Only thing I would say is maybe I kind of hate some of those one-offs because only so many people can get there or can afford to be there or seats or that
Right.
type of thing. So I mean, it'd be nice if they could extend it and find a way to do more dates and that type of thing. But yeah, give us as much Sabbath and Ozzy as you can before he goes.
Anthony, how's it going? Good to
Yeah.
see you. Sorry
Anthony,
about this.
brother. Man, Anthony had one of the most epic hauls. If you haven't watched his video yet, all 99 cents, dollar records at a thrift store. Wow, Anthony, that video was mind-boggling. Like Birds, he got the Birds, Sweethearts at the Rodeo in the shrink for like
What?
$1. Yeah, for
No,
$1.
that's insane.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Tons of 80s too. He got like the Eurythmics and Sade and
Wow.
yeah, Anthony, what a killer video. I almost watched it twice, but my wife was like, no more YouTube.
Gary's jealous of my interpretation of the same. He's like, well, like who wouldn't be, you know, like if but you know, seriously, like, you know, whatever. If I were as rich as Sammy Hagar, I would do whatever the fuck I wanted. If that's, you know, getting fat laying on a beach, you know.
Jeff is not listening to Jimmy Buffett.
Every single song from now and eternity that you write about is about either tequila or Cabo Wabo. You know, fine, whatever. Just go away.
Well, outside of Bill Ward, what else in there excited you, Jeff?
About that concert?
Yeah.
Yeah.
You mentioned Ward. Was there anything else?
I mean, it's kind of cool Metallica's playing, but you know, I don't know. For me, it'd be all about Black Sabbath. Really, it's sort of like, you know, having a wake while somebody's alive, I guess. But
well, I mean, this was Ozzy's dream to get back together with the four guys. So I think that they're trying to do this for Ozzy, you know, while he's still alive. And I just think it's cool that we're going to get like, you know, if it's done like the Freddie Mercury concert, where if you remember the Freddie Mercury concert, like I think Extreme opened up, right? And then Guns N' Roses, Metallica, and then what they did was a rotating group of musicians that would come out and do Queen songs. So if they do that, and you've got Bill Ward on stage and freaking Kerry King, you know, and like just a mixture of artists performing, that would be really cool.
Yeah.
They should bring Ronnie James's hologram to it. Have him perform with them.
Well, they should have done a tribute concert for Ronnie James, and they never did that.
did you say Mac Sabbath is part of that lineup?
No, but I'm going to go see them. They're playing New Bedford.
That's
guys
my
don't
new
know-
favorite thing, honestly. Like since you showed me that clip, I've been showing my wife the clip. I've been showing family members. I'm like, this is the best thing ever. I love it. It's funny, but at the same time, like those guys, obviously they love Black Sabbath and they play it with sincerity. It's not, I mean, obviously they change the lyrics. The lyrics are hysterical, but still, like they nail, you know, the instrumental, you know, parts of the song. They nail it, but I just freaking fantastic. Thank you,
Brandon, have you seen Mac Sabbath yet?
I don't think I have.
Yeah, it's these guys that dress up as the McDonald's characters, Grimace, the Hamburglar, like Ronald McDonald, but they do.
I did see that.
Yeah, oh my
I think you sent it actually. I did see that.
Yeah.
They're kind
Yeah,
of like it out.
Jeff, I can't imagine how much money I'm going to buy on merch because those guys are just
I'm gonna have to Josh is gonna be at the merch stand. And I'm gonna be Venmoing him, like, give me that T-shirt. I gotta
Well,
have one.
I wish you could come, Jeff. That would be amazing.
I would love it. I know.
Yeah.
I know. That would be fantastic. But it was, it was funny because the video that you showed where it's Ozzy and his son, was like, I'm not telling you where we're going. And then he takes him into that like little small theater, and then Max Sabbath is there. But like reading the comments of the video, nobody's talking about the merits of the music. They're all like, you can't understand a fucking word Ozzy's saying. His speech is totally, but God bless Ozzy. Ozzy's an institution, and we should give him nothing but respect. Seriously, the man.
One last thing I'm just going to say is that Jakey Lee is going to be there, and Jakey Lee, I mean, hopefully he's going to play. I know he got shot like 4 times, but Ozzy Osbourne and Jakey Lee have not been, I think, in the same room for decades. So it should be really cool for that reunion too.
Yeah.
So
Zakk Wylde going to be there?
Zakk Wylde's going to be there. Pantera's going to be there. So yeah, I mean, if you go look at the list, it's a who's who of
crazy.
heavy metal. It's crazy. It's one of the most epic lineups, and I'm sure they're going to add more. And the thing is that, I know that Jeff said like, oh, it's bitching about Limp Bizkit, but if you think about it, Ozfest in the 90s, I saw System of a Down before they broke at Ozfest on the second stage with 5 people around me. Korn was on Ozfest. Marilyn Manson was on Ozfest. All these new metal bands, they owe a lot to Ozzy Osbourne because that festival, when metal was at an all-time low, helped build up new metal to where it was one of the biggest genres, and hard rock and heavy metal became popular again. But when I saw Ozfest in 97 or 98, it was Tool, Megadeth, Limp Bizkit, System of a Down, Melvins, Motorhead. Like, it was a cross section of old metal and new metal, and everybody was an amazing time. So like, I think a lot of these bands just owe it to Ozzy to show up and show their respect. So
Fair enough. On that note, thank you everybody for joining in. Thanks, Gary. Thanks, Anthony. Thank you, Trevor. Thank you, Alex, for jumping in. Rich Strickler, everybody who, whether you have a YouTube channel or not, thank you for joining us. We will be back next week. Not sure what we're going to talk about, but it will be something very exciting and engaging. Maybe we'll talk
It'll probably be about how you hate Sammy Hagar.
I was going to say, we'll Sammy Hagar.
I'll show Sammy Hagar records, and you could bitch about them.
Oh God! Well, Sammy, if you're watching, like Sammy's watching. He's on a beast. Anyway, all right. Enough of that. Thank you, everybody, for watching, and take care.
Bye, guys.